Alright, so this is a tutorial about how to record stem tracks directly into Ableton. A friend of mine requested that I put this up. I'm not an expert at this by any means, but I'm going to share with you how I do this. And I'm starting with a new project here. I've got some presets that I do. With my drum rack, I just separate out some bus tracks so that I can separate some of the sounds from mixing. Then of course it's all put into that group. Sampler is one of the sounds or instruments included with Ableton, and FM8 is part of the native instruments bundle that I have. The motif is MIDI'd in here. I also have the Phantom and some other instruments MIDI'd in here. So the first thing you want to do is to make sure that you have your settings in properly. So for audio, as you can see, I'm using the PreSonus Fire Studio 10 ins and 10 outs, and if you go to the input configuration, you can determine whether you want them to be stereo or mono. You can actually select both if you want, if you're going to separate some signals, but that's that. And you do the same with the outputs. I'm only running the monitors, so it's pretty straightforward there. And just like you do your settings for audio, you want to go and do your settings for MIDI. Any controllers or control surfaces that you have, you'll assign here. I'm using the Ableton Push. And this is where you actually assign the MIDI instruments. If you want to record MIDI into Ableton, this is where you assign your inputs. As you can see, I'm using the MIDI timepiece, and I'm going to turn this light on here so you can see. This light gets hot, so I will be turning it back off. But you see I have a number of instruments connected to the to my computer running into Ableton. Might be hard to see down here, it's kind of dark, but there's my Fire Studio, and this is the MIDI timepiece. It's by Motu, and it's running all of my MIDI instruments that I'm not running with USB. So going back to this interface and turn off this light, you can see that I've got all of my inputs active. Inputs are the sounds or the MIDI signal that's coming into the computer. So if you want to be able to play or control Ableton, or play or put MIDI information into Ableton from a particular instrument, you're going to have to turn this or set this to on. Okay? Now, if we scroll down, you'll see the motif here. I'm only using port 1. That's on because I do control Ableton with it, as well as the other instruments, and you'll see how I do that shortly. Base station, Phantom, all those are inputs. Now, we also have to set them for outputs if we want to be able to control the device from Ableton. So if you want to control it with Ableton and send the MIDI information back to back to the instrument, you have to have it on for both input and output. If you only want to use it as virtual instruments, say you have like I have some modules underneath the keyboard here, you can basically just do those for output. You're not going to have an input because unless you're running something through it, you're not going to have an input. So you'll just be using it to send MIDI or output MIDI to the device and play it like a module. So once you've got that set up, when you create a new MIDI instrument, as I had to do with the Motif XF here, you create a new MIDI track or instrument track, sorry. Audio to wherever you want to send your audio. In this case, for me, it's going to be the master track. And on that instrument track, I actually have these separated out, just like I did my drums. I don't know if you guys saw that. This is basically a group. So this is my MIDI track that's controlling my keyboard, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, so I can actually split these out. So I'm not trying to control, so I can run multiple channels, and I can add channels as I need to. So channel 1, 2, and 3, and I'm running the audio all out to here, so that when this is down here, this group, I can control the volume and add effects if I want to. Do that with all the tracks. Okay, so as you can see, for that instrument track, I'm getting MIDI from all instruments. Getting MIDI from all instruments means any instrument that I play. Like right now I'm playing the Phantom. If this is set to receive MIDI, when I play any instrument, the MIDI should be coming in. Well, if it's on channel 1. The Phantom isn't set to channel 1. But as you can see by these little LEDs lighting up, it doesn't matter which keyboard I play, if it's channel 1, it's going to come through. Or really any channel, but this is set to receive channel 1. So I have it set that way, and what it does, the reason it's playing the Motif sounds is because down here, if I can get there, I got some stuff in the way here, but the Motif XF8 is selected for channel 1. So this is going to receive instruments from whichever controller I'm using, and send them to the external instrument. To get an external instrument added, I'll just demonstrate it here. All I have to do, and I'm hand holding this whole thing, so this is kind of difficult here, but I'm just going to delete it and start. As a matter of fact, why don't I just do this for illustration purposes? I'll just create another track here. So I can do, I believe it's Command Option, oh, I'm sorry, Command Shift T. Command Shift T to do an instrument track. Now if you don't want to use the shortcuts, you can go to create track and insert MIDI track, but it's a lot easier just to do Command Shift T. So I'm going to do Command R to rename this channel 4. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see that. I just renamed it to channel 4. It's a new MIDI track. All instruments, all channels is fine. There's no output because we're going to manage the outputs with the external instruments. So we go to our browser here, instruments. This is gonna pull up Ableton instruments, and up here we have external instrument. You can double click or you can drag it down here. Now output, we're going to send the audio to well, let's see what we have in the other ones. So I'm not sure which channels I have set up for which. MIDI to, okay, so going back to this virtual instrument on channel 4, we're going to output the MIDI. In this case, because we're in the motif group, we're just going to go to the motif again, right here, and we're going to be outputting to channel 4. And the audio, we're not going to worry about the audio because all the audio is coming in through here. That's where my board is connected. So I don't, unless I'm going to run separate outs for each channel, I can just run it manually. But you do have the option, if you wanted to, you could take the audio, and if you're not sure which channel, I know it's on 1 and 2, but if I wanted to play something here, I can see it reading on 1 and 2. So if I know that's my motif, I can set it here. And now my audio will come through that. I have my MIDI and my audio all on one channel when I do it that way, which is good if you're not doing multiple tracks on the same one. But I'm doing multiple tracks, so I manage the audio on this motif audio track that I created here, and it just runs through all the time. So that's how that part of it works. I have the same kind of setup for the Phantom, and you know, it's the same thing for all the other instruments. The MIDI to the instrument that it's that we want to control, and this one actually has the audio on the same track. And you got the MIDI going to that, and you've also got the MIDI coming from that. See the base station there, and I have all channels. It's channel 1, but I just have it set to all channels, and so on and so forth for the other tracks. And that's how you basically set up MIDI to your MIDI instruments to control Ableton. Now with that, I don't have to control other MIDI instruments. I can also, just as in this case here, I have a drum set or drum kit. I can go to this and I can first of all set this to play through, and as you can hear, I don't know if you can see, yeah, you should be able to see that. I'm controlling the drums from the motif here, because this is set to receive MIDI from all channels, and it's singing the MIDI, and that instrument is on the track here, on the drum rack track. So take this back to auto because I don't want it to play. And when I'm using another board as a controller, I typically turn the volume down, is all I did there, so that the piano and the drums wouldn't play at the same time. Alright, and this is, you know, controlling it from the Ableton push, which is how I normally like to do my drums. So with that, why don't we go ahead and record some drums. So I'm going to try to set this up so that I don't have to hold it after a while. But you know, you start with arming your track, which I'm doing now. I don't know if you can see that kind of blinking. That's because I'm pressing this button here. If If you don't have the Ableton push controller, you can just the same, use your mouse and click that. Alright, I'm going to start a metronome going here. And let's just do something really simple. So nothing special, but that's what we're going to work with here. So as you can see, I just recorded the drum part. Now the push uses a step sequencer, but you could actually do that live if you wanted to, of course. So once you've got that, and as you can see also, I'm recording in session view. This just happened to be the track that I was on. I guess I can move this up and do it that way, but yeah, I'm recording in session view. I'm going to twirl this up so that we get a little more space here. And let's go to a MIDI instrument. We're on the Motif XL. So I'm going to go over here on this to record. Well, that's the thing. I have to expand this out so I can, I'm sorry, show you this. See, I had to twirl this out so I could select the channel 1. And now that we're able to select it, we'll go to session view on that to record, and we should get a nice count in. I'm going to set this down while I record this part on my mic stand. I think that works. I don't know if you guys can see the screen that well, but it's just while I record this. So see what we want to do. We'll do something like that. So I did was, once you have your MIDI set up, I'm going to stop this, but once you have your MIDI set up, all you have to do is, it's recording just like any other track. You arm it to record, you add it in there, and you're pretty much set to go. Let's add a bass line. Why not? Close this down. Go to the bass station and arm that to record. Alright, so let's try it. Let's try that one more time. Okay. So So, I mean, that's pretty much how you get started recording MIDI with Ableton. If you want to do your multi-tracks this way, of course, you can bounce these out to audio whenever you get ready. You can also, if you choose, you can record, if you're used to a linear sequencer like Logic or Pro Tools or something along those lines, you can record this way as well. Same exact concept. You set your markers and record the tracks that you want to. It's got the same buttons here that you had on the other one. It's formatted a little differently, but you press record, and when you're ready to record, you start it, and you can record just the same way. So, you see the MIDI there. If you want something more linear, use the markers, etc., etc. If you have any other questions, just let me know, and I'll do my best to get another video on here to answer whatever question you might have. Hope this was helpful, and peace.